He's having an MVP caliber season, and it sucks that I saw to play. He was like, his legs went in his split mode, and he had to come out. It just looked absolutely unfortunate. And what's worse is this. Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, November 8th edition of the TV on Basketball Podcast with your host, TV. Hope you're having a fantastic day and thank you for clicking on to watch or listen to today's episode. Before we start, I do have to plug my other platforms. Remember to follow at TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for updates on the podcast and for other great content. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you will not miss an episode. For my podcast listeners, remember to subscribe and leave a review if you are on Apple. And that's for Spotify, Anchor, or Podbean listeners. Just continue to show your support in any way possible. I highly appreciate all of you. Today's show is gonna get a little deep in the beginning. Not even really deep. It's just a bit like some topics we're gonna have to cover in the beginning. But then there's a lot of great basketball topics to get into. Of course, we're bringing back the Raptors Minute, and there's some like big topics relating to big teams in the NBA that we're going to be talking about today. So it should be a really good episode. Thank you guys again for coming along, supporting the podcast, all of that good stuff. But yeah, it's going to be a good episode today. Going to have to get through some things at the beginning to kind of just address. But after that, straight basketball talk. But sometimes it's not all about basketball, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's the NBA. All this stuff, it's not going to be like all, you know, this like all peaches and cream or whatever. So we have to kind of discuss those as well. But we're going to have some great topics again later on in the episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Again, thank you guys for all the support. And man, it has been an absolutely rough week for the NBA in terms of publicity matters. This dates back to a couple of weeks back as well. I mean, I didn't want to really talk about a lot of this stuff last week, but it just keeps piling up. And at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to address these quickly. I'm not going to spend I really don't want to spend too much time on this, but let's get into it. Firstly, Josh Primo. If you remember last week, he was cut by the San Antonio Spurs, the number 12 or 13th pick in the 2021 draft. He played some games this season. People were looking to him as to be one of the cornerstone pieces for this team. I mean, yes, he was a raw prospect, but he had time to develop, and of course the Spurs were going to allow him to do so. But they had to cut him, and when the Spurs cut someone that young on a 4-year contract, you knew something was going on. You just knew it. And then there were reports afterwards saying that Josh Primo has had some issues within the organization of exposing himself. Yes, just like AB there in the NFL with him sitting down in the pool when it's all nasty out there. Josh Primo was revealing himself to female employees. And one in particular was a former psychologist for the San Antonio Spurs, Dr. Hillary Cawthon, who filed a lawsuit against both the Spurs for not listening to her concerns, as well as Primo claiming that the 19-year-old exposed his genitals to her 9 times during multiple sessions. Yeah, this came out a couple days later, but with the reports coming from before this, you can't help but just think that, yeah, this is definitely something that's been going on with Josh Primo. I mean, it's crazy. He's 19 years old. He's not allowed to drink. He's not allowed to go to a bar in the U.S. And this guy's going out here, going to female employees in the Spurs organization and just showing himself like that. Completely unacceptable. If this has been going on for months as well, the fact that the Spurs didn't do anything sooner about that is a little bit concerning. But they got rid of him. Again, wish it was sooner, but that's just how it is. It's just a horrible situation. Josh Primo, you're an adult now. That's what basically I'm just trying to say here. He's an adult. That type of stuff, he really needs to be looking to seek help. That is just not something you could do in a workplace environment, especially in a place, I know you're a millionaire and whatever, but to an organization, to respected members in your organization, and just like basically it's like a form of sexual harassment. That's all the case is, and age is not really a thing to excuse this bad behavior. It's just bad behavior. So hopefully he can get the help he needs. Hopefully he can fix up whatever his act is, and whether he's back in the NBA or not, as long as this guy is like getting better, that's still really one thing. It's just trying to like improve his behavior. He's still really young. He can fix up his behavior. Whether he returns to the NBA or not, there is a question to be asked later. But that doesn't really matter right now. It shouldn't, because that is just unacceptable, even if you're a rookie. And that wasn't the only thing that happened this week in the NBA. Kyrie Irving, it's been all over the news. Everyone knows about it at this point. Retweeted a film promoting black anti-Semitism. I think it was like it's a movie promoting like a false Black history, like a Black Jew history. It promoted like false stories about that, and again a lot of anti-Semitic themes in that story. And crazy enough, it's still on Amazon. It's still being put up there, but he retweeted it. When he asked why he retweeted it, because it was such a film of such bad taste, just really, really bad themes and like attacks on a group of people. He basically said, "Oh, this is me just sharing a film like that. Like I can't control how people feel. I wasn't promoting it or anything." Kyrie, 10 million plus followers across all platforms. Whatever you tweet out, whatever he tweets out, whatever he puts out there, coming from his account, his mouth, as promoting of something, whether it's his brand, whether it's his character, or whether it's just like anything. If he talks about a movie, like saying, "Oh, Top Gun was a bad movie," it's promotion for Top Gun no matter what. You putting this film out there is promotion. And you say, and Kyrie saying, "Oh, he didn't know how it was going to affect people," and stuff like that. This is like, you are a top player in the NBA with a big following who has had controversial views in the past, whether it's the vaccine or any other matter. He isn't a public eye. This type of stuff just continues to happen, and it led to the Nets suspending him 5 games. Not the NBA, the Nets. And like, if you've seen the press conference before the suspension happened, it was like, what, 8 to 10 minutes of just complete nonsense from him. Him getting asked questions, him being asked to explain himself. And he was just like, this and that. He's just like spewing garbage. Spewing absolute garbage, no apology whatsoever. Really just dancing around the word, sorry. Like, none coming from his mouth, nothing came out of that press conference. He finally issued an apology on his official Instagram account, saying sorry, he needs to learn better, this and that. But again, could have happened a long time ago. Could have happened right away. But no, this guy waited for the suspension to happen, and then he addressed the apology. He's the one who did it afterwards. And again, it's at least 5 games too. So we don't know if he's going to be back after 5 games. You have this, plus the apology. Just felt whole disingenuous. The NBA really should have done something about this. And nothing, and now it's just like kind of out there. I mean, every time you see your Kyrie Irving now, this thing is attached to it. And it's just not a good look for the NBA whatsoever. It really isn't. So before Kyrie has to come back, I know he had to take some classes to learn more about the history and everything. Again, issue the apology and another like goes of things before he is able to return to the team. But even then, the whole Brooklyn Nets situation is really weird. His future is in question now. I mean, what's next with Kyrie? One GM said that he thinks that maybe Kyrie Irving has seen his last game in the NBA. That's how far one GM went to say. I don't think that's going to happen, just because some team will take a chance on him. But at the same time, it's just, again, not a good look for the NBA. And we're like, I guess, at a point, like, especially when you look at the Josh Primo situation and now the Kyrie Irving situation, I can really say that the NBA at this moment feels more of a reactive league more than a proactive or a prevention type league. They really should be like adding more of these policies in place, because this type of garbage is being spewed out by Kyrie, or like this stuff being handled with Josh Primo like months in advance, like months after the incident happened. Should not happen. They should have more of these things under control. I know organizations are trying to keep these under wraps, but this is just not a good look, especially when you have other things piling up in the league as well. Speaking of the next one, Miles Bridges. Yeah, remember Miles Bridges, the guy who had a breakout year last year, potential most improved candidate, but over the summer he basically threw it all away after photos released by his girlfriend showed that he was physically abusing her in front of their children. And basically after that, it felt like the end of Miles Bridges' career. It did. And the other day, he pleaded no guilty to the charges faced on him, which means no jail time. No jail time for Miles Bridges, only 3 years of probation. And another bad situation here for the NBA. There could be another extra punishment dealt to him by the NBA if he does sign to a team. But at this point, is any team signing him? No. Do I want to see him back in the league? No. I don't care about his basketball ability. I don't care about how people like saw him last year. He's a great dunker and all that. This type of stuff, again, not welcomed in the NBA. And if you see like a theme here with him is like, we're gonna talk about that later, but having that on your resume, like having that as part of your public image, not good. Not in front of your children. Not the fact that every time that the children have to go with him, during his custody during his days, by a third party, he can't even go pick him up themselves because he has a restraining order. Because his girlfriend has a restraining order on him. That's bad. That's really, really bad. So yeah, will a team take a chance on him? I don't know, but all I could say is I don't want to see it happen. He should not. That type of stuff does not welcome in the NBA. No, not this level of disrespect, none whatsoever. Another horrible situation, Miles Bridges. Again, hopefully he can get the help he needs, but this is not like something that we should be like letting slide by with NBA players, especially someone of his caliber. Actually, not any NBA player in general. Anyone in the NBA organization in general. This is not welcomed. Next one, kind of on a lighter note, but also very similar to these type of cases. Ime Udoka, if you remember, he had some sort of affair on one of comments towards another female staff member of the Boston Celtics, and he was put on a 1-year suspension from the team, and he was basically just suspended, and I think it was like I forgot the name of the head coach of the team, Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla had to take over for this year, and there have been reports now that Ime Udoka, even though he is on a suspension, the Celtics were going to allow him to let him go in order for the Brooklyn Nets to bring him in as a head coach. Yeah. Quick comment from like Marcus Smart. When this is happening, he basically assumed that after this year's over that they're going to have Ime back as their coach. So even for Celtics players, this is just really, really weird situation. But yeah, after Steve Nash got fired, I didn't even mention that yet. Their next plan is to bring in Ime Udoka. Yes, Jacques Vaughn is the interim head coach right now. He's the one like controlling the sidelines as of this moment. But they're trying to bring in Ime. And once again, someone who, and this is like kind of feels like a theme, especially with Bridges and Primo as well, just disrespect to women, and also like not having the decency to kind of like show respect to women in an organization. Because let's be honest, if they bring in Ime Udoka into the Nets organization, that's going to send a bad message to the rest of the women in the organization. Like, you're bringing someone with this history, and not just like history from 5-10 years ago. This was this past summer. This is very recent, and now you're trying to bring him into the organization. Bad message going to the members of, especially the female members of the Brooklyn Nets organization if he is brought in. And that's why there's a bunch of highly touted members in the Brooklyn Nets organization urging Sean Marks, urging Joe Tsai not to do this. But of course, they want someone with a good coaching pedigree, someone who has success. And look, he's had, time in Brooklyn before. He was an assistant coach for Steve Nash in his first year, and he has a great relationship with KD and Sean Marks. But the issues in Boston, yes, that was Boston's to deal with. But once again, especially coming off this fresh, like off the investigation, bring him in right here, right now. Again, this doesn't sit right with me. I wouldn't do it if I was the Brooklyn Nets. Let's see what happens. Maybe if a year or two pass by, but as of right now, it just feels it feels tasteless. It really does feel tasteless, and I think that they're kind of coming to the realization of it because it felt like it was a done deal a couple days ago, but they haven't announced it yet. They haven't said anything. So who knows if it's still on the table or not. But once again, this type of behavior cannot go let go without being punished. We don't know the full situation, and I bet if he does get hired by the Nets, something will come out But from the little that we know, and like his like relationship with women and like his past organization, again, I don't know if we want to see it, especially this early. Who knows? But again, bad publicity all around for the NBA with these four things going on. Talked about this for like 13 minutes. This is way over time for that. Let's move on to actual basketball stuff. And yeah, we're gonna talk about more about basketball. I mean, we shouldn't have these types of things in the league, and hopefully the NBA just does a better job preventing it in the future, being more reactive to it, maybe putting the hammer down a little bit harder. Because so we won't see more of this happen in the future because it is a great league, and these little things are just gonna tarnish it. But yeah, hopefully it'll get better, for the people, the victims in the situations, and also, like these guys just continue to learn more and just like get better as themselves as human beings, not even like just away from the basketball court for sure. Next up, we'll talk about some actual basketball. That was just a lot of stuff that's kind of real, but let's talk about the Milwaukee Bucks. And yes, this was released yesterday when the Bucks did. When the Bucks were undefeated, but they did lose to the Hawks yesterday, 117-98. But that aside, this Milwaukee team has looked nuts this season. And the big reason for that, let's be honest, Giannis Antetokounmpo having another MVP caliber season, 32, 12, and 5, 54% from the field, 27% from 3, 65% at the free throw line. Giannis feels like he's on a whole nother level right now. It feels like him and Luka Doncic are like the best players in basketball. Don't worry, Jokic, I haven't forgot about you. But they look, especially Giannis, has looked absolutely amazing. And what has really impressed me about this team is that they have basically went undefeated before last night's game without Chris Middleton. Their second best player, someone who is a guaranteed 20 to 23 points on a team, solid defender, very good three-point shooter, and they're still able to win games with a top half offensive rating and the number one defensive rating. I think people forgot last year, Brook Lopez missed a huge chunk of games, like 60 plus games, and that really contributed to why their defense was below their standards. He's back healthy. Him and Giannis are now patrolling the paint as they have done these past 3 to 4 years, and it's working wonders. They're winning games. And when you have Giannis playing at this high of a level, looking like the MVP of the league, this team just looks unstoppable. Like, there's so many teams in the NBA where I was expecting them to be contenders or like someone vying for a championship, but they have kind of fallen short or fallen flat. Kind of like a team I'm going to mention later, the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Clippers, but the Milwaukee Bucks, a team who has stayed cohesive over the past 4 to 5 years, same core, same group of guys, same coach. You work together all that time, like the ins and outs of your basketball play, and it looks like they just are just like miles ahead of a lot of teams, and the chemistry is a massive, massive part of it. And look, I'm not saying this thing is gonna last forever because look. Giannis is going to be in his prime for a while, but Jrue Holiday is creeping up to his mid-30s. Chris Middleton's not getting any younger. The window is slowly but surely closing. It's barely closed, but as the years go on, they're going to have less and less chance to win a championship. But if Chris Middleton comes back healthy, Jure's playing at a high level, you have Giannis continuing to be the Giannis that we all know and love, getting great contributions from Lopez, Portis, Grayson Allen, etc., etc. We knew this team was going to be a championship contender before the season started, and they're just continuing to prove us right. They're very good, and no one should be surprised with this. Absolutely no one. Giannis is that guy, and I just can't wait to see how he's going to play all year long. There's so much that we still want to see of him. We want to see him move up those all-time rankings, and the play he's having right now, just feeling so in control, he just looks motivated, and he's still having fun after the games and press conferences and all that. He's just like one of those players that you absolutely have to like love in the NBA. Sure, you might like hate it when he's playing against you and he's just like running over all your guys, but he's such a lovable guy. And this team, they made it to the top before. It looks like they're looking at that top saying, man, we haven't been there in like 2 years. We're going to try and get back at it. So let's see what the Milwaukee Bucks are going to have to do this season. I'm excited to see how they're going to be able to play out. We're going to now bring back a segment that I started last week surrounding my Toronto Raptors. We're going to bring back the Raptors Minute. It's where I talk about the Raptors for maybe 1 or 2 minutes just so we can have an update to see how they are this season. So far, the Raptors are 6-5 this season. They just lost to the Chicago Bulls yesterday. But again, they won the first game. It feels like that has happened to the Raptors quite often. But here we are. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks in the past week as well. Very, very close game versus Luka Doncic. But the Raptors are still over 500. Honestly, they look very, very good. But sadly, sad news to hear, Siakam is going to be out due to a groin injury amidst his career year. He's having an MVP caliber season, and it sucks that I saw the play. He was like, his legs went in his split mode, and he had to come out. It just looked absolutely unfortunate. And what's worse is, this guy had this same injury in 2021 and in 2019. The more you strain that area, the more re-aggravating of that injury. It just means more recovery time and more time he's going to be missing. Because right now, it's only 2 weeks minimum. But I don't expect him to be back in 2 weeks. I think this is going to be closer to a month, 2 months. Which is absolutely unfortunate because the Raptors need his play on both ends of the court. His playmaking, his rebounding, his defense, everything. He brings so much to this team, and losing our best player sucks. It really does suck. But the Raptors were built with the mentality of next man up. Fred VanVleet came back from his injury, scored 30 points. And that just means, we need more contributions from Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes. Those guys need to step up. And I think that if the Raptors want to see some growth in Scotty Barnes, he needs to really show out this while Siakam's gone to really see if he can really up his game to maybe a number 1, number 2 option type level. But we still have to see that. Besides that, happy to look at Christian Koloko and see that he has a potentially steal the draft. Because, look, his inside offense, if it's not a lob, it's rough. It is very, very rough. But in terms as a rim protector, someone who could switch, someone who could just be an inside presence, more specifically on the defensive end, the Raptors need him, and he has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, in that first win versus the Chicago Bulls, 6 blocks, I think 3 of them came in the first quarter. The Raptors are just missing someone like this, and yes, we do not play with a lot of traditional. We don't have a traditional center really, but having someone like him as just an option, someone that can maybe not finish games, but can play a good chunk of minutes and just hold the fort down inside, is really, really useful. And he's just only going to get better. He only is. He already has a great knack for the ball in the defensive end. He just needs to kind of work on his offensive game, like I said. Besides lobs, looks absolutely horrible, but that will come with time. But I'm really happy to see that he is able to play at such this amount of minutes as a second round pick, who I expected to play in a long G League, but he's playing good minutes right now. And if I'm Nick Nurse, continue to play him. He has changed a lot of games for us, and I can't wait to see how his development goes because he's on a 3-year contract, and I want to see him become a nice core member of this team. Excited to see how he is able to develop. But yeah, that is the Raptors Minute. Again, we're going to be checking up on them again next week, so be on the lookout for that for you Raptor fans. Next topic we're going to be discussing is a team who I had in the NBA Finals. They were part of my finals prediction, but so far they have not played to their capabilities as the defending NBA champions. Of course, I'm talking about the Golden State Warriors. Now, good for them. They defeated the Sacramento Kings yesterday because Steph Curry is just that guy. He is clearly not the problem on this team. 47 points last night, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He looked like the best point guard in the game. Nothing new. This is how Steph Curry has been dominating the league the past, 7 years? He is not looking like he's slowing down whatsoever. But even with Steph Curry having MVP caliber numbers, another MVP caliber season, 33, 7-7, the Warriors are 4-7. and the reason for that is really it's not their starting lineup, because that starting lineup of Wiggins, Clay, Steph Curry, Draymond, and Kevon Looney, they're fine. They're playing absolutely fine. But the problem with the Golden State Warriors is the bench players and just the young guys not developing the way they were hoping to. James Wiseman, so far this season, has looked horrible, especially on the defensive end. He cannot stop a soul in the paint. There's like the minute he comes on the court, the Golden State Warriors give up a crap ton of points. He is a big reason, even though he doesn't play as much, but he contributes a lot to that bottom 5 defensive rating, which the Warriors are not known for that. The Warriors culture always, like, in the Warriors team, a Steve Kerr-led team, always has a top 10 defense. But, yes, he has kind of those intangibles, an athletic 7-footer, but he is just not producing. And he doesn't really fit kind of the Warriors' mode of basketball in terms of free-flowing offense. That's why Kevon Looney works so well, because he doesn't need the ball. Once he has the ball, it's like, okay, where's the open guy? Pass, swing, easy. James Wiseman's not that guy. You know what he does? He asks for the ball in the post. And I don't need to see James Wiseman like post touches on a Golden State Warrior team, especially when you're sharing minutes with Jordan Poole, where he can be averaging 20 plus a game, which so far he hasn't been able to. But he's still, a solid player, 15 points a game, but he could be better. But yeah, there's him. Jonathan Kuminga is not taking that next step, which I was really hoping that he would. Still a solid player, but I think that he just needs time to develop, but the Warriors have championship aspirations. I don't know if they're going to be patient enough with him, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Moses Moody, who I think is the best of the three. I think he deserves the most minutes. But he isn't really going to be, he shouldn't really be like your second best player off the bench. Poole is doing okay. Hopefully he can get better as well. But they just need to get just a better production from their bench. If that means sitting some of the young guys, maybe giving more minutes to a JaMychal Green, to a Dante DiVincenzo, a Ty Jerome, just someone who has been in the league and you can maybe rely more on, would be better. Because right now, having a bottom 5 defense, and honestly, just an upper half offense, is not Golden State Warriors like. This is not the defending champs that we've seen. But I'm not too worried. I'm really not too worried about this Golden State Warriors team because, like I said, that starting 5 has been excellent. They have one of the highest net ratings in the league. I think they're like a plus 24 or something like that, which is insane. But this team needs to just get better guys off their bench. And what sucks is that a lot of their key bench players left. Gary Payton, over there in Portland. And yes, he hasn't played a game yet, but he should be back in a week. Another player that they're missing out on from their bench last year, Otto Porter. He's no longer on the team. He's on the Toronto Raptors, but he was a key piece of that team. Damian Lee, he is now with the Phoenix Suns. Those guys, yes, they weren't, world beaters, but these guys were reliable. Juan Toscano Anderson, he's gone as well. And now you're putting a lot of pressure on these young guys to kind of alleviate, the time where you don't have a Steph Curry on the court, where you don't have Clay or Draymond. And that's a lot to ask. That is a lot to ask. Yes, they might develop in that one day, but asking third-year players, and at this point, James Wiseman, this feels like a rookie year just because of the amount of games he's played. He hasn't played a lot. It's a lot of pressure to put on those young guys. They might have to make some moves on the buyout market or the free agency market just to bring in some guys that, can continue to take those young guys under their wing. Because it just doesn't feel like this team is ready for, at least the young guys are ready for big-time minutes come the playoffs again. Now, hopefully throughout the season, things will get better. They get into the flow of things, get used, to playing some good minutes, and they'll get better at it. But so far, they've gotten, a bigger role from last year, and it hasn't been working out. Now, the win against the Kings is great, but now they have to face the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday night. The Kings again, which they might give them a good fight. What's good about at least these next, 2 weeks or so, you're not facing that many, great teams, the Spurs, the Rockets, the Knicks. Just the Phoenix Suns, I think, over these next 2 weeks is going to be a tough game for them, but they still have to, just get better production. And hopefully that'll come soon. I'm not worried about this Warriors team. I still think they're going to be in the title picture by the end of the season, but those other guys need to step it up. They really do. I'm not worried about the starting lineup. I think that they're going to do what they have to do, especially led by Steph Curry. I mean, he's the best point guard in the league. I'm not worried about them. It's just the other guys. That's really my only concern. But other than that, I think that they'll make some moves. I don't think they're going to trade any of the young guys just because they want to develop them in their system and kind of take them into that next era of the Warriors. So I don't think the trades are going to happen, but they just need to get better and just more prepared coming into games. Last topic of the show I'm going to be discussing is a team that Yeah, again, I wish I would talked about this team yesterday because they actually lost their second game of the season after losing to the LA Clippers. Very, very fun game to watch. But we are going to be talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers because prior to that loss to the Los Angeles Clippers, they were on an 8-game winning streak. And if you remember from the first game of the season of them, they lost Darius Garland because of an eye injury. Gary Trent poked them. It was completely by accident. I think they talked about it after the game. It was fine. But they lost that game, and then they ripped off an 8-game winning streak and went 8-1 to start off the year. They look absolutely amazing, and what really kind of like, especially now that Darius Garland's back. I mean, he's been back, he's looking good. My concern before the season was that will this backcourt be able to hold up? And like, yes, they're gonna funnel a lot of stuff to Mobley or Allen, but is it gonna be like is the perimeter defense gonna be just too poor for them to, stop the 3-point shot and stuff like that? But honestly, not a problem whatsoever. Top 5 offense, top 2 defense. This team looks insane. Donovan Mitchell playing at an MVP level right now, 31, 6 and 4, 50% from the field, 45% from 3, 86% at the line. Again, another player playing at an MVP caliber level. He is playing out of his mind right now. Darius Garland only played 4 games, but 19 and 8 to start off the year, solid. You're getting 15 a game from Mobley, 13 from Allen, and then good contributions from LeVert giving you 13, 12 from Kevin Love, 9 from Cedi Osman. Each of these players up and down the roster know their role and are playing their role to a high level. I mean, we talked about how the bench of the Warriors isn't performing and not giving them the support they need for the starters. Well, when the starters go to the bench, you're still getting like good production from a lot of guys. Even someone like Dean Wade, he's played all 10 games this year, 7 points a game, and he has been one of their better 3-point shooters. Almost 50% from the 3-point line. He's been absolutely fantastic. And then just watching this team, I've watched actually a lot more of this team than I thought I would at the beginning of the season, but there's just good vibes around them. There really is. I mean, there were good vibes around them last year, especially with the emergence of Mobley, Jared Allen playing to an all-star level, Darius Garland taking that next step. There are good vibes to this team, but now with Donovan Mitchell, it just feels like they went from a solid playoff team, which we thought they were going to be before the season, to dark horse contender maybe? I don't know. Because the biggest problem with them last year was that once Darius Garland doesn't have the ball, there's no one else to create their own shot. I mean, clearly Caris LeVert cannot be the second scoring option. So what do? They traded, some pieces, including Lauri Markkanen, Ochai Agbaji, Colin Sexton, and a couple of picks, but you're bringing in a star player, Donovan Mitchell, who can create his own shot, who has proven to be a playoff performer, and now he's playing at that high level, and you're looking at this team saying, they have the offense, they have the defense, can they just maintain this for the remainder of the season? That's the only question they have, because right now we've seen that at their best, which it feels like they're playing like peak basketball right now, they're able to compete with everyone in the league. They are. And like, this team just feels like, yes, they're very young, but they're like, I'm not gonna say wise beyond their years, but they're playing like they've been with each other for a while now. Now is it gonna be tough to see, his ball, like, is it gonna be taking turns type of shot at the end of games? Who knows? But right now it's working. It's working right now, and it's looking like really good for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Honestly, the only negative I can see about this team is that Isaac Okoro, someone who I had high expectations coming into this season, kind of being their defensive stopper, has played all 10 games, no good whatsoever, averaging 2 points, 1.5 rebounds, 29% from the field, and he's just like falling deeper and deeper like out of the rotation. That's about it. But again, when you have 4 guys averaging over 13 and 13.5 points per game, you're doing something really well, especially having a 30-point per game scorer. And look, as the season goes on, maybe Rubio gets healthier, he becomes another key ball handler to that team. And you know how he played last year for the Cavs. He can provide some really good minutes to alleviate pressure off of Donovan Mitchell or Ricky Rubio, playing with both of them. With Darius Garland, both having history of playing with them in the past, when Rubio was with the Jazz, and of course last year with the Cavs. This Cavs team is looking really good. I don't want to say that they're contender status just yet. I need to see more of this. But the continuity that I thought would take some time to get used to, it just looks like it's clicking right away. And I'm excited to see what this Cavs team has next in store. Because, look, they're in no pressure to win a championship right now. No way. They have guys that are like 23, 22, 20. And Donovan Mitchell is not even that old. He's like 26. They have time. And just them, like, seeing that they're able to, like, win games through a lot of different ways. And just having, like, at least, like, multiple go-to scorers at the end of games. It's just really good to watch. And the Cavs, especially, like, you know, comparing to the rest of the East, I mean, they could really go into that top three. They could really be competing with the Bostons and the Milwaukees. Do I think they're ready yet? Maybe not, but maybe this season they'll prove me wrong. I'm gonna keep watching their games, keep enjoying it, keep seeing Donovan Mitchell playing at a high level. Just excited to see what this team has in store because they have been an absolute treat to watch to start off the year. But yeah, those are all the topics that I want to talk about in today's episode. Let me know down below what you guys think, your thoughts on the Cavs, Fraps, Warriors, all that good stuff, even the stuff in the beginning if you have any thoughts on that. But if you have any thoughts on the other topics, let me know down below in the comment section. But I think this is where we're going to end today's episode. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Remember to show love on all the podcast channels. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on YouTube. And remember to follow @TV on Basketball on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok for other great content and also updates on the podcast. I'm going to be back next week to talk more NBA basketball with you guys, so be on the lookout for that. And I'm going to continue to post every day different type of videos. I mean, if you saw my video yesterday, me reacting to Dwight Howard signing with a team in Taiwan, yeah, that happened yesterday, and I tried to make a funny video of that. So just look at that on my Instagram and on my TikTok page, and you would see some of my like instant reaction to stuff. So, you know, maybe there's some things that I didn't mention on the pod that you want me to talk about. If you leave a comment in my TikTok or my Instagram, I'll definitely try to make a video on there so I can help discuss those type of topics. But yeah, just to find out all that stuff, you know where to find me. And yeah, just continue for all the support. I appreciate all you guys. I'm not uploading as much as I have previous years, but I still love doing this. And for those who are watching or listening, I really do appreciate all the support you have been giving me these past 4 years. It's been a long time, but I'm going to continue to do this and keep watching NBA basketball because it's been absolutely fantastic. So yeah, that's the end of today's episode. Thank you guys for all your support. Hope you have a fantastic day. This is TV signing out. Take it easy, guys. Peace.